Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I want to welcome you to the hottest show in all the globe, The Welch Report with me, Jean-Luc Welch. Make some noise, clap it up, get excited wherever you are. We are back, yes indeed. I told you I was going to come back. We battling illness, we battling disease, we pulling through, we pushing through, because that's what we do right here on The Welch Report. Thank you for tuning in, thank you for listening, and a hot dog, we got a great show for you today, covering all the world of boxing and the NBA, as we always do on this fine establishment of a show. Yes, indeed, we got a jam-packed show for you today with the return of Devin Haney and Deontay Wilder, now imminent and now legitimately on the horizon, as well as with some news with Gervonta Davis and some recent outlets showing that he is indeed focused, or is it all a ruse for the fight with Roach? Questions have been swarming about whether or not Tank is really invested in this fight, if he is really going to want to have his all in this fight to be able to put on the best performance. And if that is the case, will it be an upset of epic proportions, similar to the likes of Buster Douglas, or is it all a ploy, all a lie? And we're going to see Tank be the best that he can be. And what we don't want to see, what we most likely will see, another knockout that won't mean anything in the grand scheme of things. But regardless of which, we still got so much stuff to cover, as well as with trades in the NBA now ramping up in action. We got people like Bradley Beal getting sat down, potentially, well, not potentially, moves got made with the Los Angeles Lakers. And is it now worse or better than it was before they got rid of D'Angelo Russell? All that and more on this show. We got so much to talk about. We got a jam-packed episode. And again, don't forget, championship rounds at the end of the show. You all can talk about whatever you want. It is your time to shine. We got 30 minutes to an hour at the end of the show to give you all the floor for whatever you want to discuss. Absolutely. But again, we got a show to do, so we appreciate you coming in and tuning in to the hottest show in the globe right here on YouTube and every podcasting platform, The Welch Report. Oh, and one more thing. Leave a like on the video or on the stream. Comment your thoughts and opinions in the chat below, as you can see right here. Yeah, there we go. Oh, I love this thing. Subscribe to the channel and share the show with everybody you know, so we can keep on building up this empire together. Oh, making it grand, making a conglomerate, make it expand across the globe to make this the greatest show anybody has ever seen. Anybody's welcome. Everybody's free to come and join in on the fun and the action that we got to offer right here. And we're available on every podcasting platform imaginable: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, you name it, we're there. And if we're not, tell me, and I'll be there. Absolutely, if I can get there. Absolutely. But oh, trust and believe, you're going to want to rewatch and re-listen to all the stuff that we got going on. But with all that being said, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to talk about sports, and it's time to talk about boxing first and foremost. And without further ado, since we're talking about boxing, always time to step into the ring. Yes, sir. Let's get it on. Let's do it. Round one of this show going underway, as we got a lot to talk about, and we will get to Deontay versus Devin Haney. We will get to, or not versus, excuse me. We will get to their returns, but briskly, as, how do we say, Boxing Kingdom, who, again, thank you for joining in on the show. Absolutely. we got to talk about the Opatia fight. The brother that brought up some questions about what the world is we're going to see, not just with the cruiserweight division, but also for potentially his up-and-coming tenure in heavyweight. Oh, yes, indeed. Oh, yes, indeed. Will this brother be able to actually get to a heavyweight opportunity to face off against Usyk down the line, maybe sooner rather than later? Oh, we got that to talk about first. But again, let's join in the people who have come into the show. Thank you again, Warlock Boxing. What's up? How you doing? Glad you're here. Glad you're tuning in. I'm sorry. Again, I had to make sure I was starting a little bit later. I wanted to do it at 12 outright, but I had to make sure, I was feeling good. I was feeling okay. I wasn't still feeling the effects of yesterday, which was horrible. But you getting the best that you can get out of me today. Mark my words, just as promised. But again, we got to talk about boxing. And now, let's jump into the show right now. With, as Kingdom has also said, again, Opatia versus David, is it Inuko? Inuko, excuse me if I'm saying his name wrong. But at 7 o'clock in the morning, boy, we got to see us a firefight down under in New Zealand, Australia, one of the spaces over down, I guess southward on the other side of the globe. Again, excuse me if I have my geography wrong, but regardless of which, we got to witness one of the early contenders for knockout of the year. My gosh. You want to talk about devastation. You want to talk about outright power. You want to talk about a scary sight to see in the scheme of cruiserweight and potentially coming up to heavyweight. But again, we'll get to that later down the line. Regardless of which, the reaction to the fight in and of itself, Opatia, again, if you don't know Opatia, cruiserweight champion, arguably, not even arguably, the best cruiserweight in the world, faced off against David Inuko and knocked him out within 4 rounds in devastating fashion in a fight that was indeed an outright brawl, an outright dogfight, an outright spectacle. It was great, phenomenal. No action was left on the floor. Everything by both of these fighters got left inside of the ring. And it was a barn burner. Everybody knows that Opatia, and if you don't know, Opatia, current undefeated, I believe undefeated, if I remember, maybe one loss, but I believe currently undefeated, if I have my record correct mentally. I'll look it up to verify as well. But he's currently the IBF champion, lineal cruiserweight champion, the best cruiserweight in the world, and got into a fight with David Inuko, who was indeed respectable and hard-pressed in his own right. This wasn't just a pushover fight. No. This brother was big and came to play. This brother was strong and came to throw some leather. And leather, they did throw. He came out gunning against Opatia. David was legitimately pushing the pace and doing what nobody said that you should do against Jai, which is come into his airspace, get into a firefight with, at this point in time, the most dangerous puncher in the division. And for 4 rounds, it was an outright spectacle. Legitimately, he put up an incredible affair. But by round 3, all of a sudden you start to see the hooks of Opatia consistently land. Now start to actually not just do some damage, but now starting to connect at will at that point. And the overwhelming pressure, the overwhelming power, the speed, and the slicing nature of his punches eventually got to David or Inuko. And after that, you saw at that point in time, knocked him down with the uppercut off of, I believe it was off of a flurry of shots to the body. Got him, what was it? Yeah, flurry of shots to the body. Got him distracted, and then boom, uppercut to the head in the midst of a combination that knocked him down. Ooh, it was pretty. Ooh, it was sublime. Ooh, it was something special to see. And then after that, what do we see at that point? Opatia goes in for the kill, goes in for destruction, and absolutely wrecks David. Absolutely destroys him with a legitimate, scary, horrifying knockout. When David was holding on to the ropes, already essentially out on his feet, Opatia throws a hook to the head, clean, flush, unguarded. Ref stepped in too late. Brother went down. And that brother went down and he stayed down. And when I say he stayed down, ladies and gentlemen, if I have my time correct, he stayed down unresponsive and unconscious for 6 minutes straight. Looked like a legitimate It looked like it's a catastrophic thing was getting ready to take place inside of the ring. We've seen, and again, this is not to be funny, but this is legitimately what it was like. If you are a fan of Dragon Ball Z, if you remember Yamcha, when he got destroyed, when he got blown up by a Cyberman, fighting against Nappa and Vegeta when they first came to Earth, when it was Vegeta being bad in Dragon Ball and in the Dragon Ball ethos in history. But when he got destroyed and got blown up, you know how that crater looked? And he was just sitting there crumpled up and absolutely just motionless, gone. That's what he looked like. Genuinely, it was horrifying. It was incredible because the knockout nature, whoa, this just shows the power of Jai Patai. But brother, you want to talk about scary? We were literally praying for this brother's safety. Thankfully, he eventually got up and got to the locker room. But even afterwards, the man walking to the locker room still was wobbly, still didn't look right, still needed the support of his team. Again, we hope and pray that he is going to be okay. Hopefully, he got to the ER immediately after the fight and genuinely went to get treated. He is a good fighter. He's a great fighter. Brother showed heart and went to a depth in the game of Jai Patai that nobody said that you should even attempt to jump into. And he willingly went into that and was full force about it. We give all the credit in the world to a warrior of that caliber. Absolutely. There is no question about it. He deserves all the respect. And I want to see him back in the ring. That fight made him a fan of me because of what he showed inside the ring. Genuinely. But with all of that being said, the result is the result. And now we're looking at, again, it wasn't just a coming out party for Jai Patai. People know his name somewhat more in the grand landscape of boxing. But what this was one of the most definitive points in his career to speak to the world, to the masses, the entirety of the division, and say, I'm the baddest in the land. There ain't nobody, and I mean nobody, that can touch me right now, genuinely. And I would have to say, I agree. I don't know what else he did. I don't know what else it can be. I don't know what else he can do in this in his career let me rephrase it. He can do so much more in his career. Absolutely. Everybody else in the eyes of Jai Patai, in the eyes of me included, in the cruiserweight division, I don't know who else can stop this man. Genuinely. He's got so many different gifts and talents about him. Specifically, the aggressiveness and the sharpness of his attack when he goes on the offensive end. You want to talk about a legitimate, scary sight to see. It's different when somebody just got power. No, absolutely. It's phenomenal when somebody's just got power. When somebody can legitimately put your lights out at a moment's notice. And he's one of the best knockout artists in the world in Jai Patai. Absolutely. But the scary thing about Jai is the technical ability in his punches. Every time we talk about boxers, there is always something that I hate when I watch them fight. A lot of times. And it's because at some point we see the sharpness go away. We see the technique go away. We see the speed that also helps equate to the power get somewhat lost due to the fact that, hey, we're just throwing lumber. And again, there's specific things that you can do as a boxer, technique-wise, that can refine it so you can have your punches look like a sword in the wind. Genuine. Not every boxer has that, but Jai does. And it's on every punch. Every single slicing shot that brother throws looks not just dangerous, doesn't just look intentional, but it looks so deadly that it makes you scared to want to even engage the brother. It makes you scared to even want to attempt to move forward against this guy. Just when you see the way that this man throws shots, it is such a demoralizing and genuinely horrific sight. Even if it misses, because of not just the speed that's coming at, but the sharpness at which it will slice the air like a samurai. The ability, and again, the brother is cruiserweight. This is 200 plus pounds, or 200 pounds, just about even. And this man is throwing leather that, if I'm being completely honest, if he moved up to the heavyweight division, this cat would go and put some people in danger. I'm being dead serious. This is a brother who is so incredible. It is so incredible to watch this man fight and legitimately watch him work as he continues, not just to grow, but to destroy everybody that he goes up against. He's 27-0, 29 KOs on his resume, and now he's looking to go up against Gilberto Ramirez. Oh, yes, indeed, and this is where we want to see. This is what we're looking for. This is the time that we want to see him shine, because now, again, Gilberto Ramirez, if you don't know, is 47-1, 30 KOs, again, at this point in time, at least on BoxRec, ranked as the #1 pound-for-pound cruiserweight in the world at this stage in his career, and arguably the best fighter at cruiserweight. Again, I think it's jive, but either way, whatever you feel is how you feel. The point of the matter is, these are the two best in the division, and now he's gunning for him. Now he's gunning for the big dog. Now he's gunning to unify, and inevitably, if we go off the words of Eddie Hearn, who talked post-press conference, is looking to become undisputed at cruiserweight. And if he achieves that, now he's looking to go move up to heavyweight and immediately get a big-time fight against Alexander Usyk. Now, could that actually be possible? Well, before I answer that, let's quickly go down to what your comments have to say about what we've been talking about as a whole. Yo, my pie, what's up? How you doing? Glad you're here. Glad you're joining in on the show, on the stream. Appreciate you taking time out today to come in on the greatest show in all the globe right here on YouTube and every podcasting platform imaginable. The Welch Report. We appreciate you coming in. I'm doing great. Hopefully you're doing well. Hopefully you're doing phenomenal. Hopefully you're enjoying everything that we got going on right here on the show. Fight Buzz, what's going on with you? What's up? How you doing? Glad you're back. Glad you're returning to the world of the Welch Report right here on YouTube. Absolutely. Let's see what you got to say. Check it in. Keeping up, bro. I hope all is well. Listening at work. I'm glad you're listening at work. Thank you so much for using me as a means of entertainment. I appreciate it all. I want to entertain. I want to give you all the love and respect. I want to help you all make your day even better than it already is. And again, whatever problems you got, whatever issues you are going through, you can get through it. And if you are going through nothing, and everything's hunky-dory, enjoy it and lavish in it, or bathe in it. Love it. Don't take the moment for granted. Absolutely. And hey, everybody, we here to have a good time and have a great time and be here for a long time. That's what we trying to do right here. Yo, what's going on? Garden snake? What's a garden snake mentality? Is that Kobe in the picture? What's up? How you doing? My eyes are kind of bad, Got glasses and all. If I mess up the look or mess up the thumbnail or the image that you got, my apology. But what's up? How you doing? Glad that you here. Let's see what you got to say. What makes it was it worse than Marcus KO on Pacquiao? No, it wasn't worse than Marquez on Pacquiao. That was legitimately, people thought that Pacquiao was gone. Genuinely. It was like gone. There was nothing that caught. There was nothing, and I mean nothing, that caught Pacquiao when he got dropped against Marquez. Again, with Opatia knocking out against David, he knocked him out, and then he was still caught on the ropes. And that shot put him out, but then he slumped to the floor and then stayed there. But the residual impact of bouncing on the floor wasn't felt as much because there was a little bit of a buffer with them already being caught on the ropes and slumping down. Pacquiao, he got caught coming in. He got hit immediately. He was already out. There was nothing to hold him up to negate the fall. It was straight up knocked out from the punch, and then residual big impact when he landed on the ground. That's what it was like. That's what it was like. And that is so much more detrimental. That is a lot more scary. That's a lot more scary. And many times if you watch in the world of boxing, like with Roy Jones Jr., the biggest thing that made the knockouts that he suffered so demoralizing wasn't just because he got caught and got put to sleep. It's the fact that the back of his head bounced on the back of the canvas, or bounced on the canvas, excuse me. And then, yeah, there was no way he was getting up after that. Even though the punch that he already got hit with was incredible. It's the shot from the punch and then the shot from the floor. Those are the two things that make a knockout even more detrimental. And that's why this wasn't as bad as that, though this was, again, incredibly scary. That was horrific. My gosh, that man face planted, splat. And we were like, yo, that's like a concussion on top of concussion. Oh yeah, that's scary. That's horrifying. That's absolutely scary. Wasn't it? Yeah, it was. Yeah. I believe it was on short notice too. He took the fight, and he's also, and not only was this fight relatively short notice, but also he's looking to, in terms of Gervonta, looking to get a fight with Gilberto Ramirez in the span of 4 months. So immediately after this, and that potentially, what does that lead to? Wait a minute now. What does that mean? January, February, March, April. So within 3 to 4 months, he's looking to get the next fight, and that could mean, hypothetically, that brother gets put on a major card. And if the talks of Canelo and Crawford, if, again, all speculation, if it is indeed going about and happening, and if the talks with Crawford and Canelo are indeed moving forward, they get a deal done by March. That would fall right into that window that Jai wants to get a fight with Ramirez to unify the division. Now we can have an epic card of massive proportion. One of the best of the year, one of the best of the decade. With Canelo and Crawford, and potentially Jai Opatia and Ramirez as the co-main event. And wouldn't that be a sight to see? Wouldn't that be expected? I'll tell you what, I would love to see that part. I love to see that one. I would love to see those four, be on the same card again. That would be phenomenal. But that's what we're looking at when it comes to the trajectory of Jai Opatia in his career at this point in time. Let's see what else you all have to say. Let's see. Zerudo has something to say about that. Oh, yeah, he does. I forgot. He does. Yeah, Zerudo does have something to say, and we will see. Again, this is what makes it exciting about Jai Opatia. There are so many options and opportunities that we see him at with this win, with this knockout. It opens up the door even more, especially in such a volatile fashion, that the imagination wanders, the imagination roams, the inspiration for us as fans wanting to see what we can actually let me rephrase that. The inspiration for anticipation that us as fans want to see Jai Opatia attempt to achieve makes us phenomenal. It makes us phenomenal because we are the fans. We drive the sport, but it makes the whole sport incredible. Makes it exciting to watch. Gives us more of a reason to tune in. Because the possibilities are endless. And I'm excited to see exactly what's going to unfold. But let's see, Kingdom, what you got to say about this whole shebang that we got going on. Not only is he talented and gifted, but he's focused, and his attitude is scary. Jai Opatia does not care. That is the biggest thing that makes him such a detrimental threat in the cruiserweight division. And again, we keep talking about the potentials of heavyweight possibilities. That's the biggest thing that makes him so dangerous. Just like Moses Atuma, who we just saw score a knockout of the year last year at the end of the year. Was it early this year? When did he fight? No, yeah, the end of last year. That's what makes it so spectacular. It's the fact that the man does not care. He wants smoke. He wants fire. He wants, let me make sure I'm looking a little bit taller on the camera. Yeah, I know I'm short. I appreciate it. I'm glad I'm the height I am, but doggone it, I gotta give the optics some legitimate view, if you know what I'm saying. If you know what I'm saying. I ain't ashamed of who I am, doggone it, but I also know, hey, the appeal, I want to make, hey, I'm a big dude. I'm reaching the top of the scenery. I'm reaching the top of I'm reaching the top of the frame. So, feel a bit better about myself. No, I'm kidding. I'm just messing. But regardless of which, the mentality of Jai Opatia is seek and destroy. And on top of that, it is, I know I'm better than you, and you know it too. We talked about that with other fighters as well. He is a man that gives us a reason to follow him, not just because he's inside the ring, but outside the ring. Again, he's a nice dude, don't get me wrong, but it is the mentality that he continues to be so willing to take on tests, whether they're long-term, short-term, short notice, or you got to prepare for a year. Doesn't matter to him. Stays ready so he doesn't have to get ready. Consistently make sure that he is in shape mentally and physically. And the production that he puts on inside the ring is driven by a relentless, senseless, absolutely hungry drive to be the best and prove on a night-to-night basis that there is nobody that can touch me. That is what Jai does. On top of with this action with talent, with the foot, we're getting the better. We're using angles in this fight, going off angle. We're using a legitimate defense. Though, again, it was an infighting war for the most part. We are looking for a situation where Jai continues to impress and improve more and more and more to the point that if he does achieve what we think he can achieve, which is undisputed. And again, Ceruto, everybody's saying Ceruto's got something to say. Absolutely. Don't get it twisted. I am not disrespecting Ceruto at all when it comes to what his ability is as a fighter, as a boxer, as somebody who is definitely a dominant force in the sport. But what I do know is, also J-Riggs, what's going on, brother? How you doing? Glad you're here. Glad you're tuning in. I'm glad that y'all are checking on me. I feel a lot better. I feel good, and I appreciate you all worrying about my health. Again, it was just a minor bug. I'm all good now. It felt bad when I was in it, but I'm out of it now, or at least for the most part. And doggone, I'm going to give you the best that I got. As I ain't down for the count, I'm still up and at 'em. I'm still a dog when it comes to what we do on this show, and that is to entertain the masses, don't you know? And that's why I'm here to give you all the people what you deserve. Absolutely. And again, was it the Kiki, what's going on? How you doing? Glad that you're joining in on the show. And again, real quick, I don't know why it's happening, but at some points in time, the chat sometimes doesn't let me bring up names for some odd reason. Kagi, I don't know why I can't bring up your comment on here, but I appreciate you tuning in. I appreciate you joining in, and I appreciate you genuinely taking time out to check out the show of what we got going on. Means the world to me. Hopefully, you leave a like on the channel. Now, while I'm talking, I'll try to get this fixed so we can get the comments still rolling continually up on the screen, not just on the side of the thing. But either, regardless of which, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. I appreciate you all so much. But let's see what you got to say as we read off of your comment. Devin and Wilder on BLK is a great move for both guys. They can both get a couple quick warm-up fights before they get better opposition in 2025. Again, and you also say, I think it will suit Wilder better as he needs to fight. An active fighter is a dangerous fighter. Absolutely. And again, we're getting ready to touch on that. Give me 1 second. Let me finish the Jai Opatia debate and conversation. Because again, I do want to touch on the heavyweight aspirations that can potentially be in line. But we're going to touch on Wilder right after this. Don't get it twisted. Right after this, we're going to touch on Wilder. We're going to touch on Devin Haney. We're going to touch on all my grievances as well as my hopes that we can see for their returns come this year. Absolutely. So stay right here. You don't want to go anywhere for that. But real quick, as we lastly go on the Jai Opatia topic, how do you all feel about his chances of getting a shot at Alexander Usyk down the line, or even immediately, for an undisputed heavyweight championship fight? Genuine. I would like to see that. We're about to move on. I just want to get a quick question, a quick word in, and we'll talk about it later on in the championship rounds, and everybody can have their say in what they want to say about the show. But regardless of which, just to pose a question with you, how much do you feel that is a possibility that we could see Jai Opatia go against Usyk at heavyweight? And potentially, if he does go undisputed, let's say he does beat Ceruto, and again, we can break down that fight once it fully gets announced. But regardless of which, if he does beat Ceruto, if he does become undisputed, if he does unify and do everything that we want him to do, if he does that, again, we're not saying right now, let's make it clear. Let's make it clear. We're not saying right now. We are saying if he unifies and becomes undisputed. Because that's what Eddie Hearn was saying about the plan that they want to do for him. If he goes about doing that, if he gets past Ceruto, and gets unified, then goes undisputed, then moves up, do you think that it'll be likely that he'll get an immediate shot at Usyk? Or would he have to work his way up in the division? Or do you think that, hey, he wouldn't be ready for him in the first place, even if he did get an opportunity to fight him? I'm just posing a question. That's all I'm doing. At this point in time, I'm just posing a question. And people got comments, and trust me, people got comments. Oh, we're going to talk about it. Absolutely. But I just want to pose a question to you all before we move forward. Okay. No, highly unlikely to be. Oh, also, G-Bo, what's going on with you? How you doing? Appreciate you joining in on the show. Absolutely, thank you. If you're a first-time listener or first-time watcher, welcome to the world of the Watch Report with me, Jean-Luc Welch, right here every Tuesday. Again, I know we're coming in on Wednesday. I know I was sick yesterday, but regardless of which, every Tuesday and Thursday, we're here at about 12 o'clock covering the world of boxing and the NBA, as well as whatever else you all want to talk about is as the end of the show or during the end of the show when it approaches. I'm happy that you're here, happy that you're joining in, happy that hopefully you're subscribed. If you haven't, subscribe to the channel, like the stream, and also share the show with everybody so we can get this ball rolling to keep building up an empire of this community together, all thanks to you and your support. But let's see. Oh, we got people talking left, right, and center. My gosh, I don't know why my chat isn't working, that I can't pull it up to be able to talk to you all or to be able to put it up on the stream for people to see. But we're going to read it regardless of which. Opatia needs to unify with Zurdo Ramirez. Okay, he needs to do that before he even gets a shot at Usyk. Understandable. They obviously do, as every boxing channel spends their time talking about Devin Haney. Yeah, that's true. Haney is still a prospect that everybody wants to discuss. Genuinely, because he is a hot commodity. That is undeniable. Also, thanks for asking. Glad you're feeling better. Hey, appreciate it. I'm just glad that you here. Again, I can get through my health, but you all are the people that matter. You all, the fans, are the people that truly make this show what it is and help make. Hey, you brighten my day. You bring joy. This is what I love to do. This is what I want to do for my career. Absolutely, and you all thinking that believing that I'm good enough to make it happen, hey, does my heart good. Absolutely. And again, Mario, let's see. The Kiki Mario Bridas had been 5 years younger. I think he had beaten Jai Opatia. Potentially, he could have, and that is a possibility. Don't get me wrong. Now, I think Jai would have still won. Doesn't change the fact that he is, at 5 years ago, hey, brother was a dog. Don't get it twisted. Oh, he could have. But at this stage, currently, Jai Opatia's at a level that it is hard outside of Ceruto. Hard for me to pick anybody else that could actually legitimately beat him, put him down, and end this dominant streak that he's on at this point in time, which is what I see. But again, Jay Riggs, let's see what you got to say real quick. Do you think it makes a better fight if Canelo grabs two-time undisputed that way? It can be two-time undisputed versus two-time undisputed Canelo versus Crawford. Now, that's a good question. That's a good question. Okay, we're going to answer it. Jay Riggs, every time you come on the show, you keep bringing up quality questions that makes us really think. I want to save that because that's going to spark a whole nother debate that's going to take away from the other stuff that we do have planned on the show, and we got to discuss it. But I am going to get back to this question and remind me to get back to this question if I don't get back to this question. But do I think Canelo versus Crawford will be better if it's two-time undisputed versus two-time undisputed? In fact, hold on, I'll put that down in my show right now to make sure I don't miss it. Because trust me, that's a topic. That's a topic that everybody's going to have some legitimate qualms to want to discuss. Let's see. Hold on. Canelo versus Crawford better as 2X. Yep, we're going to X it. We're going to come back to that because that's a quality question. That's a phenomenal question. But it's gonna have to be for the champ rounds. I know, Jay Riggs, it's a good question. I love it. Y'all, you make us think. You make us grow. This is what everybody on this show helps make everybody think. We want to make a smarter world of sports fans, a smarter world of boxing fans, of NBA fans. We want to have these discussions. These are the questions that help drive the sport. This is what we love. Absolutely. But again, we'll get to we will get to that. We will get to that afterwards. After we get to the championship round. But I'll put that question in my notes just so I can make sure I get back to it. That's a quality question. But now, let's move on with the show as we got more to discuss. As we now have to discuss what's going on in this or in the world of boxing with Devin Haney and Deontay Wilder. Oh, they're back. Oh, yes, indeed. They're back. Ladies and gentlemen, it is happening. It is here. What we never thought would happen, happened. My gosh. My goodness. We have a legitimate situation where we got eyes on the sport Well, not just eyes on the sport, excuse me. We got eyes on two of the hottest prospects that's not prospects. My gosh, hold on. Excuse me. Let me take a drink. See, when I start fumbling my words, I'm either A, getting too excited, or B, I'm dehydrated. So let me get myself. There we go. Just need a sip. Oh, I'm good. It's like I'm getting, that's some good lemon water. It's like cocaine for me. Doggone it. All I need is a little bit of something. I'm back up to full energy now. But when it comes to Wilder and Haney, we're looking at two people that went into essentially seclusion. They went into a very dark place, and that dark place not just is mentally, but that is also out of the public eye when it comes to the boxing world, when it comes to the sports world. Two of the people that are seen as one of the most dynamic athletes in boxing. Two of the most, in one case, infamous, and in one other case, famous. Devin Haney, infamous for what's going on with the lawsuit and all that stuff, and the destruction by Ryan Garcia, which, yes, it was overturned to a no contest, but regardless of which, all of that has now made him into a different type of fixture. As well as when it comes to the world of boxing and Deontay Wilder, the man has regressed more and more and more. That suffered not just dominant losses, but one loss is an absolutely demoralizing knockout loss to one of the best fighters in the heavyweight division in Big Bang Jang. That's right, and that brother got banged out by Jang. That's absolutely. And so now we're looking at a situation. Two people on the come up, two people on the comeback trail, two people looking to make themselves again, not just relevant, but dominant in the boxing regime in their respective divisions. But now there is some concerns. And yes, we have people talking about it. I believe of the comments I can pull up as of right now, which I don't know why it's all of a sudden stopped, but of the comments I can pull up right now, somebody asked about somebody asked about it. Where's that? Did somebody ask about it here? Marquez, Rich, Cerudo, Townsend. Dang it. Okay, so I can't pull up. I can't, for some reason, I don't know why it's not working. But you all asked, with it being BLK Prime, does this favor him? Does it make it worse? What should we see? And again, was it Kibo? The Kiki? Yeah, Kiki. You're the one that asked it. It was, good gosh, I don't know why. Again, I'm sorry. My comments, something's going awry. I'm fixing it, and I'm also trying to scroll. That's it. Here we go. The Kiki, you said Devin Haney and Wilder to be okay is a great move for both guys. They can both get a couple quick warm-up fights or before they get better competition. And this will suit Wilder because you need to get reps, essentially. You need to get some level of traction. And an active fighter is a great fighter. And it's a dangerous fighter. Absolutely. And so, yes, let's answer that first. Yes, them coming back is great. Them going to BLK Prime, phenomenal. Again, I don't care about the platform. I don't care about where you fight. I care, or in most instances, I don't care about where you fight. I care about if you're fighting, period, and the opposition that you're fighting. So that's first and foremost. So BLK Prime, they got a fight going, but promotion's getting better. If a parity in promotions can help, again, bring competition, and it can be good for the sport. So love to see it. They already got Terrence Crawford as a big name fight on their card as well. Now getting Devin Haney and Deontay Wilder, big names. The BLK Prime can potentially down the line become a major promotion that gets people to want to continue to tune in. Great. Cool for them. Love it. Now, for the fight itself, both of them need to take very careful opposition. And I say very careful because if you lose any of them, it's done. It's done. It's done and it's over. If you lose against any opposition from this point on, there is a level where, for one, it's going to be more detrimental for one than the other. Specifically for Deontay Wilder. Let's start there. With Deontay Wilder, who's been out the scene for over a year, potentially over two, after the loss to Big Bang Jang, has been almost radio silent up until he says he got a fight coming up, I believe, in March or April, just about. That man, if he loses again, well, it's over. Like, genuinely it's over. I already said that he should retire. Genuinely. I've already said that he should retire. That he should wrap it up. That he should go on and push the career to the side. Because at this stage in his career, he is regressed to a point where it is now dangerous for his health. As much heart as he's got, if you just have You can have a good heart. Understand this. Let's do it in the health world, in the medical world. You can have a great heart, absolutely. But if you don't have anything protecting that heart, i.e., either you're eating right, you're taking care of yourself, or if somebody just opens up your chest and punches you in the heart without any protection, well, what's going to happen? You're gonna die. That's what's going to happen. And with Deontay Wilder, he's got one of the biggest hearts in the division from a standpoint of I will not quit. But he ain't got nothing to protect that heart for him to be able to at all. He doesn't have anything to protect the heart, so he doesn't have to only rely on it. It's literally, the heart isn't just on his sleeve. The heart is all that he is at this point in time. Power and heart. There's nothing, there's no skill. There's no technical ability. There's no nuance to him. There's also, at this stage, there's a gun-shy mentality about him. He doesn't want to throw the right hand. He doesn't want to get caught. He is legitimately way past the bronze bomber era of his career. He is a bronze statue. He stands still and does nothing. He is not a fighter, especially in this big boy division with dogs coming up now from every walk of life, with Moses Atuma, with the rejuvenated Daniel Dubois, with, again, even in AJ who got knocked out, he's still, hey, the brother is still willing to throw more than Wilder. At this stage, we're looking at a situation where even your best defense, which is only offense, you can't even use that to the best of your ability. There is an issue that with Deontay Wilder. And that brother, I have said consistently, he should wrap it up. He should retire. Go off into the sunset. Because if you get knocked out again, your health is going to maybe in trouble. Genuine. Not just the legacy that you've had. Again, not saying that, again, 10-time heavyweight defending champion, was one of the best heavyweights in the world. That would never go away. But what is going away is the shine on the statue, because you're staying too long and your health is taking a hit. If you lose again, dare I say, if you get knocked out again, you shouldn't do it. And at this point in time, with Wilder specifically, it doesn't matter who he faces at this stage in his career, because if he loses, it's over. And even if he wins, brother, he's never going to be at that top elite echelon anymore. That's the thing. And it's frustrating. And again, Garden State, Wilder's career at the top is over. Absolutely. Malik Scott is the brother who's training right now, I believe. Yeah, no, he ain't doing him any favors. You saw the essentially the rooster or the chicken type defense that it was doing, back in his head, back and forth like he's listening to music. It was horrible. It was horrible. It was absolutely terrible. And it makes me scared for what he is as a man down the line. Because when you're as this vulnerable to punishment against any type of competition, not just top, with no hopes of getting to the top, as much as we want to see you in the ring for your health, I can't say I want that. I can't. I genuinely can't. And I don't want to see it. Genuine for me, I don't want to see it. But again, let me see what the comments have to say as we continue this. Let me see what you got. Was that? Let's see. Hold on. Okay, there we go. I always said the Kiki. I always said if Wilder came back, he should do the George Foreman comeback, bum of the month route, and that's what it looks like he's doing, and that's fine. But the issue is with George Foreman. George Foreman had the technical ability and even got better technically after his comeback. He got smarter. He got not just more empathetic of his opponents, which you saw. He wasn't just destroying people because he genuinely wasn't trying to end them. And there were plenty of opportunities that he could have in his second stint in his career. But he got better defensively. He got a better block. He got better at manipulating guards. He got smarter at using that mummy defense to control his opponents, just like he did back in the day. But at the same time, now implementing a legitimate defensive game plan that can keep him safe in his new limited mobility style. Hence why he did be able to win the heavyweight championship against Michael Moore. So it's like, and defend it. So there's a difference because Foreman had technique that he could rely on, even at an advanced age. There is nothing that Wilder has that he can rely on. So even against bums, he is susceptible to getting beat and upset. That's the problem. Every fight at this stage with Wilder is a legitimate reason to be scared, not just for his opponent, but for him individually. Because he, at this stage in his career, is at as much of a threat of life-altering damage as he normally puts his opponents at. And that's a stage we've never seen him in his career before. Never. But this is where we're at right now. We are scared for Wilder, not just scared for his opponent. In fact, we're more scared for Wilder than we are for his opponents at this stage right now. That's a problem. That's a major problem, at least in my eyes. But let's see what you have to say. Jay Riggs, Deontay needs to fight Andy Ruiz because both are going down the hill and both people would want to watch it. Or many people would want to watch it. They would. Absolutely. Who would win? I'm arguing to say Ruiz, just because he's willing to throw more than Wilder. And even with where he's at right now, which is at an incredible decline, if you can get your way to the inside with Deontay and with the hooks that we know he can land smothering his opponents, as we've seen in the past, excuse me, this is a situation where Wilder can keep him out of range. We understand it. Wilder can't keep anybody out of range if they want to get on the inside at this stage right now. Couldn't do it with Shank. Definitely couldn't do it with Joseph Parker. And every other heavyweight as of right now, he couldn't do it. He can't do it. There's no. Even with a Ruiz at this stage, that may be too much of a challenge for somebody like Wilder to face. We don't want to see it. But it would be like, at this point, I can't pick Wilder over nearly anybody because of the mentality of Wilder right now. That's the biggest thing. That's the problem. The mentality of Deontay Wilder is the biggest reason why I don't have confidence in picking that man against any and all opposition. Because up here, he is not the same. If he was, even the performances that he lost in would not be nearly as detrimental and or shocking to the public. Yeah, you got beat by the better man, but you're still the bronze bomber. We're not even saying that. We're saying, again, bronze statue. We're saying, where is the mentally driven, focused, not just hungry, but fiery Wilder that wants it all? Something's missing about this brother. From an offensive, not just from an offensive standpoint, not just from a technical standpoint, but from the standpoint of him as a fighter. Something got ripped away. And he can't get it back no matter what he does. No matter what he does. And again, Garden Snake, I see your comment. I'm not comparing Wilder to Foreman. Never. I would never do that. I compare the situation of, at the later stage, how did you adapt to be able to still be dominant? But greatness and talent, Foreman, shoot. Foreman now might have better technique still than Deontay Wilder because it was ingrained in him. Gold medals and dominant for, again, over 2 decades, separate from each other, due to his ability to legitimately be a good boxer while at the same time having all the physical traits that he has that made him such a dominant and imposing threat. I'm not comparing the two. I would never compare the two. The only thing I would compare the two from a power standpoint is that Wilder has the greatest right hand I've ever seen. But from a complete punching standpoint, it's Foreman or Ernie Shavers that have the best power overall that I've seen in boxing, as well as Julian the Hawk Jackson. Those are the three for me. And so, but no, I would never compare. I would never compare. And let's see. Wilder needs to fight Francis Ngannou in a circus fight. Well, you know what? At this point, I think Francis is done with the world of boxing for right now. Just became PFL champion, beating a giant of a man that made him look small in one round. I want to see him, again, ultimately, get a super fight with John Jones down the line, some way, somehow. Get a cross motion with the PFL and the UFC. Finally make that fight happen. We need to have an answer. We got to have an answer. John Jones versus Ngannou. Somewhere, some way, somehow. We got to make it happen. Because it would be a loss to the sport if it didn't. But we got to see if John Jones will fight Tom Aspinall first, if ever, at all. And that's a whole other conversation in and of itself. But let's see. Again, let's see. The Kiki, he looked like he couldn't pull the trigger last two fights. He needs a couple easy touches to get him some KOs and get his confidence back. And yeah, he do. Absolutely. And it's, again, my pie, Wilder versus a UFC fighter, I wouldn't want to see it because if Wilder gets taken to the ground, well, there's nothing he can do. He already ain't got great legs. So you take him to the ground, it's going to be with the greatest of ease. And the brother on the ground can't do anything. And so, no, I would not want to see that because he would lose. He would lose. Because there's no UFC fighter is going to fight him in their backyard on the feet. Nobody. Because even him at this stage is still better than on the feet than most strikers, all strikers in the UFC. Because boxing, striking on the feet from a punching standpoint, there is no comparison. There is no comparison at all. But everything else in the martial arts game, oh yeah, he gets washed. Absolutely. And let's see. Wilder said he wants a body on Drinker. Yeah, that's the thing. He wants a body and he might become the body. And we don't want that at all. We don't want that. But that's the stage we're looking at with Wilder. There is a legitimate fear on Wilder that we never see with him before, that he always put on all the other opponents. Now, he's the one that got that. He said that. It's true. Yep, and Tunnel Vision, yo, what's going on? How you doing? Glad you're joining in. Glad you're here on the stream, on the show. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Watch. If you're a first-time listener or watcher, please go ahead, subscribe to the channel, and share the show with everybody that you know. And glad that you're here on this fine Wednesday morning. We'll talk about boxing and other things that we have on this show with me, Jean-Luc Welch, and this phenomenal community of the Watch, this empire that we're building together. Thank you so much for joining in on the show. And yeah, let's see. Is it true that Wilder had metal pins in his hand from a young injury? This one, oh gosh, I don't know what's going on with me. This one boxer said, if you put a dime on each of his knuckles, see what the difference in power will do. I've heard reports. I know he had a metal plate because of an injury. I believe he got it taken out afterwards. I believe. I could be wrong. But that's more so, it's been that metal plate thing, it's been one of those myths that many people accept. And I don't think anybody really looked into, but we all just assumed it was right. I didn't even question it. Does he have a metal plate? Hold on, wait a second. Let me look it up. Hold on. Let's do some live journalism right now. Wilder metal plate. Does he actually have a metal plate in his arm? Let us find out right now. Does he have you know what? Shoot. I'm trying to. He said multiple. Okay. So, from what I'm finding, yes, he's had multiple titanium rods put in his hands because of injuries that he's had. Okay, yeah. So, yep, my apologies. So, yeah, so it's true. It is true. He does have, metal pins in his arms from an injury that he sustained earlier. So that is true. That is correct. Right? Journalism at its finest. Now, did he get them taken out? Didn't find that out. Couldn't find that yet. Maybe they're still there. If they're still in there, well, they're still in there. And that's what's been making him such a dominant puncher. But regardless of which, he has always had some incredible power, I believe. But whenever that hand injury took place, metal rods got put in, kept him in, hence, boom. And so that maybe what's contributed to the dominant and incredible power that we've been witnessing on him. And yeah, the brother, he's like Wolverine. He's legitimately, the brother's like Wolverine. I know what, I gotta put that sound in my Roadcaster. I gotta make that the X-Men 97 theme song. I gotta put that as one of the sounds that I use in my thing. Cause that can fit for so many occasions. And for this, that would fit perfectly. But yeah, the brother's got Wolverine. He's essentially Wolverine in his hands. Or at least he's got one hand's got claws. Now, the other hand is just outright power. Genuine. I've seen him knock people out with both hands. The power in both arms is incredible. But in one arm, my gosh, the brother is literally slicing through his opponents. I wouldn't be surprised I'm surprised he hasn't come out to a Wolverine costume yet. That would be perfect. Maybe if he came out to a Wolverine costume, maybe he wouldn't have lost to Deontay Wilder in that second fight with that 50-pound costume that he had, trying to look like Sauron. Or the Elden, if you play Elden Ring, for my gamers out there, the Elden Ring or the Elden King, looking like that. My gosh. One like that. Oh, Franklin. Yo, what's going on, brother? How you doing? Brother, Franklin Zona. Glad that you're here. Glad that you're tuning in. Again, I want to bring up your comment, but for some reason the comment ain't working. The system ain't working like I wanted to, and I can't pull up the comments on the screen. But I appreciate you joining in and tuning in. Glad you're here. Glad you're joining in on the action. And Jay Riggs, you're absolutely right. The brother essentially jacks from Mortal Kombat with the metal plates in his arms. He might as well be ripping people open. He is a walking fatality. That's what he is. My gosh, it's incredible. And it's preposterous, but it's what it is. It's insane, but that's what we're witnessing right now. But regardless of which, when it comes to Wilder, we gotta talk about Devin Haney. But when it comes to Wilder, the biggest issue is, and real quick, Aaron, appreciate you joining in on the stream. Appreciate you coming in on the live stream. We come here, if you're new here, again, we come here every single Tuesday and Thursday. Normally, we come here on Tuesday and Thursday. We were here Wednesday because I was sick, had some illness. I'm back with it now, and I'm cool with it, and I'm battling through to give you all the best show possible. But we talk about boxing, we talk about combat sports, and we talk about the NBA as well. And at the end of the show, we talk about whatever you want to discuss when it comes to the world of sports as a whole, or just beyond. Absolutely. Fans of whatever, video games, fans of comics, whatever the case you want to be. We got it all for you. And we'll talk about it if I can talk about it. Absolutely. Get your debates ready. When we hit that point, I'll let you know. We'll ring the bell and we'll get it started. Absolutely. But thank you again for tuning in. But let's see what you got to say. I hope Devin Haney and Wilder do well. And since it's not a pay-per-view, nobody can hate on Devin Haney's numbers. Yeah, that's true. All we had to do is have a good fight and box. Absolutely. And here's the thing. When we look at the landscape of boxing, numbers, and this is a little bit of a tangent, but this delves into Devin Haney. When we look at the landscape of boxing with a lot of fans, they prioritize the numbers that a boxer sells. Numbers that a boxer makes, the amount of money that you're making, the revenue, as well as the overall gate that you can bring in. Absolutely is an important, understandable from a business perspective. We get it. There's no getting around it. Boxing is a business. But however, the core of the sport should and has always been the sport in and of itself. Boxing and what you put on as a product, as a fighter, what you do. And sadly, we have been judging fighters off of the revenue rather than off of their actual accomplishments and talent. And with this fight, now, with it being BLK product, with it being, it's affordable for a lot of people to see, with it being that we get two big names potentially, but again, potentially, I don't know if they're fighting on the same card, but potentially on the same card, on the same promotion for the world to be able to see. This is great. Because now we don't have to worry about any other speculation except for, let's see what you've done to get better. That's all we ever cared about. That's all we ever wanted. That's all we ever needed when it comes to this sport. And so, thankfully, for a lot of people, we don't hate on this, or excuse me, I can't speak for a lot of people. Let me rephrase that. I can't speak for everybody. But here, we don't hate on fighters. We give fighters all the respect in the world. We don't need to hate on fighters. What we do is critique, praise, call out, and genuinely debate and talk through the landscape of the boxing, essentially, timeline. Because that's all we care about. Telling the story the right way. And with Wilder, people say I'm hating. People say I'm harsh. With Devin Haney, people say I'm hating. People say I'm harsh. I've never been there. When they've done adequate work, I've given them the respect that they do. When they have continually failed themselves, I've called that out as well. And we have to keep it a buck. We got to keep it even keel. When it comes to Devin Haney and Deontay Wilder, both of them of recent have failed themselves as what they are in the sport in different capacities. Devin Haney, outside of boxing, he's failed what he has always perpetuated himself to be, what his father has said he's always about. And with Deontay Wilder, it's inside the sport. The brother still will fight anybody. But the problem is, in the sport, he has willingly not listened to the problems that people are saying you have an issue, and if you don't fix it, you are never going to reach where you want to be. And because he doesn't want to listen, because Devin Haney's going about the way he's going about outside the sport, handling all of this mess, both of them are failing who they are as fighters and as people, because they both are better than us. Genuinely. And so I want to see them get better. I truly do. Let's see, Kiki, I'd rather pay $5 a month for BOK Prime than $85 for Tank versus Lamont Welch. You ain't lying. If anything, that Tank fight is worth $5, let alone that Tank fight should be free on cable TV for the world to see, because it's not a caliber that should be in any way, shape, or form touching $100. Shouldn't even be touching $50. Shoot, it shouldn't be touching $1.25. If I'm being completely honest, that is not a fight that's worth pay-per-view in the slightest. But that's what the name gets you. A name gets you capitulations. A name gets you the ability to throw your weight around in ways that are unfair. But because you are that level of name, you can do it. And people will come. Sadly, people will come. ProBox TV has some of the, they do. ProBox TV has some phenomenal fights, and they're free on YouTube. If you don't watch ProBox TV, give it a watch. On what's it, Wednesdays? Is every Wednesday? Oh, they're phenomenal. And it's just a legitimate, like it used to be, Tuesday night fights, Friday night fights, Wednesday night fights that ESPN, ABC, NBC used to do way, way, way back in the day. They got that. And it's great. It's not always big names, but they're all competitive. All of them are legitimate contenders that are working their way up to the tops of the division. Sometimes, yeah, you do get big names on there. But regardless of which, it is a phenomenal platform that everybody can see who the next generation is, who is or following a fighter that is still improving and watching them grow fight by fight by fight. It's a great platform. Great platform. Again, I don't like Paulie Malignaggi on that platform. But regardless of which, everything else, great. I love it. I truly do any level. Let's see. Who is Mapai? Let's see what you guys say. Who is Wilder's promoter right now? Is it Hearn? Excuse me. Yeah, here we go. Who is Wilder's promoter right now? If it's Eddie Hearn, can we wait a match against a non-American? It's not Eddie Hearn. And right now, I believe, again, Kiki said it best. Yeah, he's self-promoting. He's not. He's on his own. Genuinely, he's by himself. That's not bad. We want to see fighters be able to handle their own money, handle their own business, and get the most that they can without the need for a promoter, because a lot of promoters are sleazy, are dirty. Absolutely. So we loved it. Controlling your destiny. But at the same time, he wants to be with a promoter because he wants to get back to that spotlight. But at this point in time, he is doing it himself. He's doing it himself. Genuinely, he's doing all he can because he's got to at this point. Nobody wants Deontay Wilder. Genuine. And that's not be hateful. Nobody wants him because of what his brand is right now. It's not worth anything major that somebody wants to capitulate a lot of money on. Oh, and Jay Riggs, you gotta go. Appreciate you coming in and tuning into the show. Appreciate you joining in. I'm glad that you got to see what we got going on. I can't wait to see you back. And you can rewatch the show again on YouTube and on every podcasting platform imaginable to get in here exactly what we missed. But again, we got more to discuss. And so let's not waste any time. Let's keep on moving with the Devin Haney side of this whole shebang. We talked about Deontay Wilder, talked about the need and the fear of him getting beat and badly damaged. Talked about his brand being hurt. Nobody wants him, hence why he's on his own. Hence why he's on BLK Prime, which again is not bad, but this is the come up to redefine what he's going to be. But the issue is, the problem. And yeah, Kiki, I can't put it up. I don't know why. As I've been talking, I've been working to try to make it happen, working to try to make it so that I can get the comments back up. But right now, this and on this, what you see right now, and like 4 other comments are the only things I can put up. But everything else you all have been saying, I can read it, but I can't put it up here, and I don't know why. And I'll keep trying to fix it to make sure we can make it happen. But regardless of which, we're going to still run with the show because we've done it without it. This is just an additive. The show itself is what we care about. And we're still going to make it as entertaining as possible. Oh, trust and believe. I ain't going to miss nobody. Or I'm going to do my best not to miss anybody on the show. But again, when it comes to the world of Devin Haney now, as we switch gears, Devin Haney, his brand, the man, if I'm being completely honest, if I want to ask you, the public, if Devin Haney went and did a Devin Haney-like performance. Let's say if he came back, I forget who he's fighting, or I don't even know who he's fighting at this point in time. But if he came back and fought, and it was a Devin Haney-like performance, like we normally see, would you be impressed or would you not be impressed? That's the question. Because if I'm being completely honest, with what we saw Devin Haney show in his last fight with Ryan Garcia, we can't afford to have Devin Haney be the same Devin Haney anymore. I don't think we can, as fans and for Devin Haney himself. And the reason why I say that is because Devin Haney, if he goes and puts on a Devin Haney-like performance like we normally see, now we're going to go into a situation where somebody wasn't earlier, wasn't Aaron? It wasn't Aaron that said it earlier in the comments, or was it somebody else? But somebody said it. Yeah, it was. Okay, excuse me. It was Asino Gamer who said it earlier in the comments. Nobody wants to see Devin Haney. And right now, that's the truth. And see, Kiki, you just said it. You're more interested in Wilder. I have no interest in watching Devin Haney versus a lower tier fighter. And why do you not have an interest in watching Devin Haney versus a lower tier fighter? Not just because of what he already is as a staple in boxing. Understandable. But it's also because of how he fights and the type of fighter that he is. There is nothing. We know he can outbox just about anybody. But the same issue is going to come into play once he faces off against somebody that is genuinely his size at 140 or above. We've talked about it. We understand he's a weight bully. We understand he is not exciting. We understand that him as a fighter, technically, he's great. But he's still got some major holes, even in that technical ability that he has at his disposal, which again, it is real. We're not going to take away what he is as a boxer, but also what he lacks as a boxer is still just as apparent. And because it's just as apparent, we have to look and be objective and say, when we look at with Devin Haney, you can't afford now more than ever to have a terrible performance or even a average performance by your standards. Because if you ever want to get back to the tops of the division in terms of from a brand standpoint, you've got to put on something that makes us look at you and say you're different. When you beat Regis Prograis, a man who had never been stopped before, a man who was a great puncher, arguably the best puncher in the division, a man who, by all accounts, was genuinely and all-encompassingly was indeed a monster at that division, was looking like a killer. And you put him down twice, and you hurt him, you rock him, you stun him, and you have a great performance. We were looking at you and saying you changed. You evolved. You showed me at that point in time, yo, you at 140 with added weight, with now you can fill yourself out and really fill out that big frame of yours that you've always had. Now you look like a different fighter. You look like a bigger threat. You look like the best fighter at 140. That's what I was saying. That's what looked like it was true. And I was all on board with it. But now, when we look at you, we have to look at you and say, well, Regis Prograis. Now, when you step up in competition against people like Ryan Garcia, step up in competition against people like Teofimo Lopez, now we see after the fight with Ryan Garcia, you are not really what we think you are. And the moniker weight bully now seems more valid. You put on, don't worry, you can be an exciting fighter, as we saw against Vasily Lomachenko. Absolutely. But Vasily Lomachenko, again, was small. He's always been small. And was outweighed and out-heighted and out-physicaled in every capacity by you. And even then, he still was able to muscle you around to the point where it was a hotly contested, incredibly close, one-round win for you that many people argue that you should have lost, myself included. And now you move up against Ryan Garcia, the brother with, from a technical perspective, nowhere close to the amount of technique that you have at your disposal, from footwork to jabbing to distance management to all of that. And then you get whitewashed by that. Ryan Garcia is Ryan Garcia. But you now, what you do ain't working. And now we see you against lesser competition. Unless we see you moving up and completely looking like an aggressive, come forward fighter, nobody's going to care. You're still a champion and nobody cares. You're still one of the main belt holders in the division. You can still be undisputed against Teofimo Lopez, potentially. But we don't care about you because you have not made us care about you. And the way you've moved of recently has drastically impacted our view of who you are as a fighter. You don't have the heart that everybody who is a fighter should have. You going about suing, you going about all these other litigations and standpoints instead of doing what Miguel Cotto did, instead of doing what Manny Pacquiao did, instead of doing what other people have done, which is get it back in blood. Deontay Wilder, who we just talked about, regardless of what you want to say about his talent, the man went and got it back in blood 3 times against Tyson Fury. Continued to go for broke, even though he said all these excuses that, from what I found, are all invalid. Based on the facts that I found, are all not capitulated. There was no spiked water. There was no glove being tampered with. There was none of that. There was nothing in his glove. He straight up got beat 2 times. 1 time was a draw. In my opinion, he got beat 3 times as a whole. I thought Fury won that first fight with him. But regardless of which, he got it back in blood. All 3 times. He attempted to make it right inside of the ring. And he put on one of the best trilogies in the modern era of boxing that we've seen. Point blank period. One of the greatest heavyweight trilogies that we've seen in all of boxing. Period. But he got it back in blood, and he still gained the respect of everybody. Still got the adoration of people wanting to see him come back. But Devin Haney, you're a different story. You have so much so damaged who you are as a brand, what you are as a fighter, what you are in the mentality of this sport, or rather what this sport requires in its mentality, which is all encompassing. You're putting your life on the line. You got to give your all to it, because if you don't, the sport will eat you up and spit you out. And now we see what you're doing after all the rah-rah from you, from your dad, from your team, from everybody surrounding you. All the talk that you and your father have been saying, have been spewing. Face of boxing, biggest name in the sport, XYZ, da-da-da-da-da. And now you're moving in a way that only somebody who doesn't have any of those types of titles attached to them would move. We don't care about you. We don't want to care about you. The only reason why we would care about you is if we saw you genuinely make yourself better in a way that we never imagined was possible. And the only way that can be is if you, A, become aggressive, or B, gain some power and start knocking folks out. Because I'm all for technical boxing. I love it. Absolutely. We've seen it done at its best from fighters of history's past and present. But the problem is when you then go about and not just inside the ring, but outside the ring, you don't do not just as much as you can, but also you don't carry yourself in the way that you say that you are about, what do we call people like that? Hypocrites. We call them hypocrites. We call them not true to themselves. We call them frauds. That's where Devin Haney's at right now. Devin Haney is on fraud watch, specifically with his return. And he can't afford, from my perspective, he can't afford to have just a lackluster, middle of the road, genuine, average Devin Haney performance. Jab, jab, move, box, be defensive, distance management, and all that stuff. You can't have that. Not at this stage. Because your brand's going to be hurt to the point that it won't be recoverable. It will be irreversible. It will be nigh, almost unfixable. The only reason why we would care about Devin Haney is if after this fight, he then goes and calls out Ryan Garcia as the first fight that Ryan Garcia comes back and fights it. Genuine. I'm so serious. That's the only reason why people would care. That's the only reason why people would care. And let's see. Oh, we got comments. Excuse me. Let's see what people got to say. Let's see. Kiki, yep, jab, jab, grab style isn't good to watch, but I do like him, but only when it's against elite guys. Completely understandable. Against bums, it doesn't mean anything. Because for him, it doesn't mean anything. There's no threat to that. But we understand that he needs to take a non-threatening fight. But the issue is, that's not what we want to see at this stage in your career. Though we know it's necessary for both Wilder and Haney. It's necessary that you take a tune-up fight. But we don't want a tune-up fight for Devin Haney. We want a tune-up fight for Ryan Garcia. Or excuse me, for Deontay Wilder. That's the difference. We want to see Wilder do what he needs to do and take fights to rebuild himself because it's required. But with Devin Haney, now, everything that he's been claiming about why he lost, well, if that's the case, you shouldn't need a tune-up fight to go and rematch Ryan Garcia. It should be, let me get it back in blood. Do stricter drug testing when he comes back and gets unbanned. Make it so that there's no way he can escape the ability to be clean. And then once we get in the ring, at that point in time, I will be able to do whatever I want with him. Because it was drugs that took me out. And without it, he's nothing. It shouldn't be that you need another tune-up fight if what Devin Haney is saying is correct to be able to beat him. If it was drugs, that's the only reason why you got beat at all. Miguel Cotto got beat by Antonio Margarito because of wraps in his hands. Once those wraps got taken out, what happened? He went and destroyed Antonio and stopped him. He said what happened, it got pulled what happened, and when it came time for the rematch, it happened just like we all thought it would happen. Cotto's better than Margarito. Cotto stops Margarito. Cotto gets his revenge. Cotto gets it back in blood. Plain and simple. Devin Haney, same thing. But he won't do it. Because I really think he's scared. I really think that he knows it wasn't drugs that took him out. It was Ryan Garcia. It was the dominance of Ryan Garcia. The power, the speed, the hooks, the inability when you throw your jab to keep your right hand where it's supposed to be instead of flailing it out. All of that. And the lack of power also. You couldn't beat him. And if you rematch him, now, without excuses, I think the same result's going to happen. But I think that's why you don't want to do anything. I think that's why you're going off of this tangent, because you want as much as you can, have as many excuses as possible, to make it so that you are not seen, or rather, you are seen as, yeah, this is my reasoning. It's a problem, and we hate it. Unless you change it, it's never going to be fixed. Never going to be fixed. Never going to be fixed at all. I want Devin, see Aaron, I want Devin Haney to be the new Barnum and Bailey. Excuse me. I want Dev to be the new Barnum and Bailey guy with the drama show. He just needs to win. Yes, he does. He needs to fight like he did at 135 against Linares and Jojo Diaz. And we fought inside the pocket. And he can. But now he won't. against somebody that he can beat that is as big as him, he will never do that again. I guarantee you. I guarantee you he won't do that again. I promise you. Against people that, because understand, like I said, the size of Devin Haney is what makes him so dominant to a big degree. He is great technically, don't get me wrong, but it's the size of Devin Haney that makes him so dominant. It makes him so hard to beat for a lot of people because he's naturally so big for the division. You face it off against people that can also reach that same level of ballooning up after weigh-ins, day of fight coming in 160. Some reports said Devin Haney came in at 180. Now you get another fighter who's elite that can also do that same thing. Now the biggest obstacle of you gets taken away. Or rather the biggest attribute that you bring to the fight now gets taken away. And you fight in the pocket against that. You saw what happened. You get beat. So that's what I think's gonna happen when it comes to Devin Haney, if they ever fought again. And hopefully they do. But shoot, honestly, only time will tell. If I'm being completely honest. Hopefully that's what makes it happen. Let's see. Love to see him have a good comeback. He might fight better at a higher weight. Mayweather's former trainer might help him as well as Mickey Bay, potentially. Again, all of this is speculative. Hopefully we see improvements. Hopefully we see him be able to be confident inside the pocket. Be willing to go and fight with fervor and fire. Be willing to stay in range and still be dominant. Because he's going to need it if he wants his brand to indeed recover. I agree with you. He needs to drop fades and let them hands go. And have his dad more chill out. Or have his dad chill out more. His pops is just, and yeah, people just don't like pops. Many people don't like his dad. Many people don't like him. Many people don't like both of them. And just like with Teofimo Lopez and his dad. His dad was cashing checks that his son had to cash. And when he got beat, son got the most of the vitriol. It's a problem. There's confidence and there's cockiness and there's outright arrogance. There is a situation where we saw Devin Haney and his dad cash a bunch of checks, talk a bunch of game, be a type of person that they're not. And when they got exposed as it, what happened? The vitriol came down. A year-long thing. Couple that with all the other stuff that happened outside the ring that we will not discuss, but if you don't know, something happened with this girl, something happened as well. It's a bunch of stuff. We don't get into that. But all of that, compounding on the loss, compounding on the other rhetoric, it really makes you think mentally, where is Devin Haney? And Devin Haney mentally is not there. And he's got to rebuild that up. He's got to rebuild it up. If he fought like Ward, we'll be happier. I'm sure Ward had boxing skills and grit. But yeah, he need to represent for his brand, which is cooked. It is. And he can also call out another champion. He's going to have to. He's going to have to. And then let's see. Kiki, what you got to say? Haney absolutely needs a tune-up fight. So I'm not against him doing that. Absolutely. I'm not against it. I'm just not that interested. It's not the tune-up fight that I'm concerned about. I want the tune-up fight for both Haney and Wilder. What I'm concerned about is the performance. If we see that it's the same performance as we normally see, that's not good enough. We need some new tools. Even when Wilder first came back after the loss to Tyson Fury against Robert Elenius, a tune-up fight, he knocked out Robert Elenius in one round, but he did it going backwards. That was the biggest concern with Wilder. You can't fight going backwards. All of a sudden, you knock out Robert Elenius while moving backwards when he's coming in. Next thing you know, that put the whole world on notice. Oh my gosh. We didn't get to see it, not even a minute or not even a full 2 minutes of action from Wilder. But from what we just witnessed at that point in time, Wilder, you can now knock out people when you're moving back from your most damaged opposition in terms of or from your most damaged circumstance. You're terrible at fighting backwards, and now you found a way to time and catch people in that blink of an eye moment that we've known and seen you do multiple times, and you catch them, and now you can do it moving back when it's seemingly that's the best way to beat you. Everybody was excited then. Everybody was on high alert then when Wilder did that. That's what we're going to need to see from Devin Haney. Some level of consistent adaptation and major evolution. Because if we don't, if he faces off against Ryan Garcia, we're going to say the same thing happens. He gets knocked out. If we face off against Teofimo Lopez, same thing happens. He gets beat, gets put down, and or knocked out. That's it. And so we need a confident, dominant evolution when we see Devin Haney come back to the ring. We got to. Because if we don't, we're not going to care. Just like many people don't care now. And we don't want that. But that's what's going to happen. Tune-up fights are great, but they're great in certain circumstances. They're great, one, if you need it, or two, if it's a situation where it's just to keep you active. But also there's context surrounding those situations also. And the context surrounding this, even though the tune-up fight is needed, it is not wanted for Devin Haney because of the talk that you talked about why you lost. That's different. Now, if you want to talk as big as you can talk, you got to walk it. And the talk that you talk showed the world if you really are about what you're about. Now, and we praised you before for taking on competition left, right, and center, which you did. Now, you fighting against a tune-up fight kind of goes against what you said you were about. So it's not that we understand it's needed, but what you perpetuated, that's not what you're showing now. And that's where we got to call hypocrisy. We got to call it a problem. That's a dilemma. That is an outright terrible circumstance. That point blank period. It's a terrible circumstance. And that you put yourself in this. You put yourself in this rock and a hard place. You can't win unless you do win in dominant fashion. And so you're backed into a corner. What can you do? What will you show to give us confidence to say, okay, yeah, we're invested in you again? Will that happen? I truly don't know. Truly. I hate to say it, but my gosh, truly, I don't know if that's going to happen. But it's all on him. It's genuinely, it is all on Devin Haney on whether or not this can be a great thing or indeed a repeat or just getting back to the norm for Devin Haney. And getting back to the norm is absolutely hard, at least from my perspective. But again, we still got more to talk about on this show. Real quick, we got to talk about Gervonta Davis versus Lamont Roach as people discuss as we have the fight again. Seemingly, it's still on. Seemingly, it's still transpiring. And seemingly, there has now been some new revelations in the world of Gervonta Davis. And no, it's not the hair that he had that made him look like a samurai. No, it's not that. It's not. We're not going to talk about the fashion. We're not going to talk about the hair. We're not going to talk about the braids. We're not going to talk about the essentially the straightened, sleek look that makes him look like either A, a samurai, or B, a 1990s pop artist. We're not going to talk about it. What we will talk about is the legitimate training and seemingly focused state that he's in. Because, ladies and gentlemen, what we speculated was Tank has some internal problems, internal struggles. Seemingly there is the dissension in the land of Gervonta Davis and his camp. Ain't seen him with Leonard Ellerby, ain't seen him with Calvin Ford, ain't seen him with his team, said that he hated boxing, said that he was tired of sport, said that he was going to retire by the end of 2025. Now, he's still going to retire by the end of 2025. That hasn't changed. That's still happening. However, with this fight, everybody was saying, is he now not focused? Is he now not driven? Well, we saw him, if you saw on social media, training with his team, training with his camp, genuinely getting reps in. Calvin Ford's there, team is there. Everybody seems like they're still where they need to be. So, for now, we can put that to rest at this point, that he is not focused. He is focused. We can put to rest at this point that he is not driven. He is driven. And we can put to rest at this point that Tank Davis has a lot of outside issues within his own camp. At this stage right now, what it looks like, everything's okay. Now, that's great, is it not? Boom. All's well in the world of Tank. Everybody loves that. Already on pace to reach that 139, 135 threshold. Walks around at the weight that's close to, hey, his fighting weight, which is great, which is phenomenal, which is why he's already and still currently one of the best fighters in the world, because he fights at a weight that is, again, his average. No question. Get ready so you don't got to stay ready. Tank's doing that. But now that brings up an issue of with this fight. Now we can almost assuredly say, yeah, he's going to knock him out. He's going to knock out Lamont Roach. He is going to destroy him. He is going to outright whitewash him. And there's not going to be any upsets, not going to be any real dissension, not going to be any real concern. None of that's going to take place. He is going to destroy Lamont Roach. And again, this shows me that this is not a fight that we want to see. Again, we already talked about how paying $85 for that fight is ludicrous. Nobody wants it. We're going to have some people streaming illegally. We're going to have some people finding alternatives to go see this fight. Genuine. It's going to be horrible because people don't care for the opponent. They care about the man. They don't care about the opponent. But since all that's being the case, further this shows me that time is winding up, and continually we are looking at Tank on a ticking time clock, ticking time bomb for his career, for where he's going to be represented. Because I promise you, and I've said this earlier, for those of you who may not be here or haven't been here before, when it comes to Devin Haney, or excuse me, when it comes to Tank, if we don't see this brother do something adequately insane, go for undisputed, move up, fight at 140 in any form of capacity, we're looking at a man who will be forgotten to history. I say that wholeheartedly. Wholeheartedly. You may disagree, but I say that with the greatest of confidence. We see Tank do what Tank does now. He's going to be a man that's forgotten to history. And I will continue to say until he does something otherwise. But at this point in time right now, what's been the conversation around Tank? His hairdo, his outside life, his fashion statements, his fashion sense, his training videos. Genuinely, everything else surrounding the fight has been bigger, has been making more news, has been trending on social media. All that has done more than the actual fight itself. And if we continue to see this happen in the landscape of Tank in his career, this is going to be a situation where Tank was a fixture in time that was hot for a moment. But then in the ultimate goal and the ultimate role of boxing, will be forgotten in history. And it's a shame because his talent is incredible. It's a shame because his talent is one of the best in the world. It's a shame because of what he can achieve, and his potential is so high up in the landscape of boxing. Anybody and everybody wants to see that man fight potentially at 147 if you can get there. And we all would say he can probably still beat most people at 147 if he got there. We're looking at the landscape of him and the talent of him, and it's just wasted. It's wasted talent. It's wasted potential. Tank is wasted opportunity on the side of boxing, and on the side of himself, and on the side of fans as well. Because it's a shame. Every time we look at this man and we see everything else surrounding the fight be bigger than the fight, it's the story of Tank over the last couple years. After Ryan Garcia, which was, again, social media versus social media. Star versus star. Loved it. With him, though, individually, all of his claims are becoming more and more mute. All of his notion, the face of boxing, more and more is becoming put on fraud watch. More and more with Tank, we are seeing, slowly but surely, more people turn to the side that I've been saying about Tank. You have proof nothing. You have done nothing. Why should we give you the respect of an outright champion, let alone an all-time great, if you don't walk that walk to achieve that threshold? Every time we look at you, every time we watch you, every time we make our hopes go up that after this you're going to do something that makes us validate you as what your greatness is, and you don't achieve it, it gives us more credence to say, well, you are just you're just a point in time. in the grand scheme of boxing, you mean nothing. But at this point in time, oh yeah, you're hot like a coal. But once you cool off, what are we going to do? We're going to throw you out. We don't. Fans are starting to get privy. And again, Aaron, you're absolutely right. Facts. He has to take bigger challenges and fight elite guys, man. Shakur, Tio, anybody elite, please. He has won belts in different weights, but not lineal belts, and that's always a favorite belt to win. Not only that, undisputed as a whole for him could be a breeze for the talent that he has. But he hasn't taken the test. And because he hasn't taken the test, and we're living in an era. See, that's the problem. Tank came along at probably the worst time. Because in the midst of when he was indeed reaching that face of boxing threshold, where the claim was who's bigger, him or Canelo, it's Canelo by far, no question. But even still, the fact that he's in that conversation is incredible. In this current era of boxing, he came along at a time when Inoue, Usyk, Benavidez, all were coming in and looking to make statements. And they all did exactly what we asked of a great fighter to do. And Terrence Crawford, on 3 separate occasions. 4, arguably, if you want to put, 4. On 4 separate occasions, excuse me. In a way, Terrence Crawford, as well as Benavidez, the way he's currently moving, and Usyk right now, have moved in a way that we all wanted them to be. In a way, undisputed, moved up, became undisputed again, started from the top down of 1 through 5, and beat everybody in the division, cooked everybody, and solidified himself as probably, in my opinion, pound for pound, second best in the world currently. Usyk reached that threshold of the best pound for pound fighter on my list in the world. Why? Because he went undisputed cruiserweight, moved up, fought AJ, fought Dubois, fought Chisora, fought Tyson Fury, beat all of them, knocked down Tyson Fury, then whitewashed him again. Incredible. Now looking to rematch Daniel Dubois, has never ducked a challenge in his life, and the brother's 38 years old. Incredible. Solidified himself as the best in the world, in my opinion, at this stage right now. And that man is indeed incredible. And there's no question as to what his ranking is in the landscape of boxing history. He will never be forgotten. In a way, will never be forgotten. Shoot, Benavidez, right now with the way that he's moving, he won't be forgotten. He's on track to be more beloved than we see with Canelo right now, with what we see from the landscape of the Mexican audience, as Fight Buzz TV so eloquently put on the show, explaining the epitome, or rather explaining the dichotomy of fan discrepancy between Canelo and David Benavidez. You can go back and look at a past live that I put up. Put it greatly. Put it so cleanly as to why people are turning on Canelo and why they're going up for David Benavidez. Because the way that they're moving, it's affecting them. And then Terrence Crawford goes up, cleans out his entire side of the street, beats Kell Brook, beats Amir Khan, beats Gamboa. Who does he also beat? Oh, I forget. Oh, no, I don't forget. Sean Porter. And then goes and knocks out Sean Porter. Then goes and knocks out Kell Brook. Then goes and knocks out Errol Spence Jr. And then moves up to 154 and fights against Majimov, who at 10 fights, and only 10 fights, became a champion with an incredibly deep amateur background. An Olympian, I believe, and phenomenal fighter. And beats him. These are the greats that are at this point in time moving like we want Tank to move. Devin Haney moved more than we saw Tank moving, and we're seeing Tank move right now. Are you kidding me? We can hate on Devin Haney all you want. You can't speak on the fact that that man has fought Kambosos after Kambosos beat Teofimo Lopez. He then faced off against Lomachenko when Lomachenko was still one of the best in the world. Even more closer to his prime, though he was on the downtrend, than we see right now with him still being a champion. Incredible. Faces off against him, puts on a Fight of the Year contender, then goes and faces off against who? Ryan Garcia. So he's faced off against, of the people at 135, 140 that were of the current four kings of boxing: Devin Haney, Teofimo Lopez, Gervonta Davis, and Ryan Garcia. Of that caliber, that sect, that entourage of sorts, that conglomerate of talent, he's faced off against three of them. Oh, and Lomachenko. He faced off against Lomachenko, Ryan Garcia, and Kambosos, who beat Teofimo Lopez, and then beat Kambosos again. And then faced off against Jorge Linares. Before that, he's been taking on tests and challenges. He has. That we can't knock that. He has, and has done more than Gervonta Davis. And he's nowhere close to the type of fighter that Tank is. But he did more. He's going to be remembered more. Or at least as much as somebody like a Tank. And that's just because of the accomplishments alone. That's the truth. It's a problem, but that's the truth. Because Tank and his actions continue to perpetuate, you aren't about legacy. And if you're not about legacy, we won't be about legacy when it comes to you either. We just won't. You'll be a flash in the pan. Oh, it was great when it was time. But you know who really ran that era? You know who really was running roughshod through that era? Benavidez. In a way. Even Bam Rodriguez. Canelo, before he started moving funny. Terrence Crawford. Incredible. Usyk, one of a kind. All those names will eclipse what Tank is. And when Tank does indeed retire, not only will his fans be distraught, but his fans and himself are going to have to look and say, well, what am I and what are we? Because eventually, people are going to forget. People are going to, just like with Floyd Mayweather right now, how we look at his career differently, especially with how he moved later on. There is a difference in greatness that you have not reached yet due to when context is being taken in your career. People are picking apart. If people are picking apart Floyd Mayweather, and Floyd Mayweather is an all-time great, you will never hear anything less than that. Arguably the greatest defensive fighter in history. Him, Pernell Whitaker, Napoleon Loche, James Toney. Some of the greatest defensive fighters we've ever seen. Winky Wright also. No question. But the issue becomes, even with that being set in stone, if he himself and Floyd is having his career picked apart genuinely to hold him back from a certain threshold, what do you think is going to happen to Gervonta Davis? We are going to look at him and we're going to say, what are you and why did you even come around if you didn't even attempt to do anything? All your other cohorts either fought against you and or fought each other, but you did nothing. You did less than nothing. You took your money and ran, and you could have been even better off being high on the hog of life if you had went and taken on the fights that we asked you. If the last fights that you took were Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia, Teofimo Lopez, you would hear a lot less clatter. Rather than us having to lament that Lamont Roach is going to be of your history. It's going to be attached to you. We don't want that. We don't care about that. And because we don't, it's going to make us not care about you. No matter how great you were. What you are, from a legacy perspective, is a simple drop in the pan, is a blink in time. You don't stand the test of time. You don't. Your talent, maybe. And people absolutely study the man. Study him. If you want to be a boxer, study him. Study Gervonta Davis. Study his ability. Study his technique and talent. Absolutely. But from a legacy perspective, no, you shouldn't. No, you should not look at this man and move the way that he moved, act the way that he acted, operate the way that he operated, and make your career modeled after him. Absolutely terrible. We don't want that. We don't ask for that. And because of that, it's going to be a mess. It's going to be a mess. Mark my words. It's going to be a big time mess with Gervonta Davis as time goes on. Once his career ends, more and more and more, we're going to be like, oh yeah, I remember that guy. Oh yeah, he was great. He's not going to be a fixture in the minds of a lot of people. His fans, absolutely. But the whole of boxing landscapes, people are going to be mad. Why didn't you bring up Gervonta Davis? Why didn't you talk about Gervonta Davis? How are you forgetting about Gervonta Davis? And we're going to say, oh yeah, that brother didn't fight anybody. And we were watching Usyk. We were watching Inoue. We were watching all these other people evolve, change, go, adapt, take on chest. Tank did. So, what's there for me to care about except for, yeah, he was fun to watch. That was about it. Didn't achieve anything. Hence, we aren't going to care once this ride comes to an end. Because other people are taking us on better rides that are just as exciting without all the hassle and without all the fluff. Quality over whatever the word Tank is doing. That's what people are going to remember. I guarantee you. Guarantee you. But, again, we still got more to cover on the show. Oh, wait a second. We're at the 144 mark. Okay, we're getting ready to get up on the championship rounds. Real quick, as we got more to discuss, we'll quickly touch on the NBA real quick. And I do mean quick and in a hurry. Then we're going to touch on the championship rounds. Anybody can talk about anything. But real quick, as we switch gears into the NBA, because I did say I was going to talk about it, Bradley Beal now getting potentially traded to an opposing team. Either Lakers, Heat, or Nuggets, as we now see he is essentially willing to waive his no-trade clause. So what that means, Suns are looking to potentially blow the whole thing up, or at least blow up that set, because he's putting up as good of a numbers as Austin Reeves on the Los Angeles Lakers. 18 points, 3 assists, and 3 rebounds, which again, for what he normally do, which is 30 points when he was on the Wizards, it is a very low output. Granted, where his position is understandable, going and playing with Devin Booker, going and playing with KD, we get the drop-off will be the same. But regardless of which, if he does get moved, will that move the needle for a lot of teams? I don't know. Really don't know. Because at this point in time, what Bradley Beal brings to an organization versus what an organization needs, specifically from the Lakers, the Nuggets, or the Heat, I don't know if it's going to be acceptable. Now, the only team that makes sense is, in my opinion, the Nuggets or the Heat, because with the Nuggets, their secondary star, Jamal Murray, has been playing abysmal relative to what we've seen for the past couple of years with the playoff runs, the championships, and the daggers that he's hit in clutch time. So now with that, with the core of the Nuggets seemingly struggling to really find that same level of success, what is it that we're going to see? A shift needs to be made. Get another offensive juggernaut that can take a lot of the load and still be dominant on a consistent basis. That is what Bradley Beal can be. Now, granted, he did go 1 for 14 last night in a loss. Understandable. Horrible. Absolutely terrible. Regardless of which, on the whole, give him a bigger role. Probably can produce some more. Let's see what he can do. What makes sense. Miami Heat, the Heat want to get somebody for Jimmy Butler because Jimmy Butler is once out and the Heat are in complete disarray. Now, what do we see? Get Bradley Beal. You're going to have to rebuild and retool. Hence, put him on a contender. Put him on with KD, with Devin Booker, and now you get Jimmy Butler. Shoot, that's a great core. Phenomenal core. We'll have to see how that transpires. But if all this fails, you keep him around and you're stuck with him. That's the landscape of that. What will happen? I'm not sure. And finally, Lakers trade D'Lo. Finally get him off. They get Shake Milton. They get DSF, Dorian Finney-Smith. Great move. Great pickup. Only problem is, bing, bang, boom, they've lost 5 games in a row. Even with Dorian Finney-Smith on the squad. It's going to take some time to gel. Going to take some time to really evolve. But the point is, defensively, they are horrible. They are still terrible. They are still messing up. Rui Hachimura is now looked at like a horrible defender with all the length and size at his disposal, but it consistently is running around the court doing nothing, letting go of opportunities, letting threes fly. They just lost to the Mavericks without Luka or Kyrie Irving. This is a problem, ladies and gentlemen. Lakers are in dire straits. If they don't make a move right now, you're wasting, again, the years of AD and LeBron. And LeBron's still at this stage performing phenomenal while playing at 40 years old. What will happen? Hopefully they make another move by the time February comes around. Because if not, brother, it's going to be a sad state of affairs when it comes to this Lakers organization. And we're going to have some talks about what's going on in the GM position, as well as whether or not LeBron will indeed play for the long haul for this team specifically. Though he said he can play 5. How long will he play? Most likely will be only 2 to 3 more years. He wants a championship within those 2 or 3, 4 more years. What will happen with them? Will they make a move? We don't know. We have to wait and see. But now that we've said all that, we got to talk about essentially whatever you want to talk about. Because, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the championship rounds. That's right. Ring the bell. Let's get it started. Oh, yes. Oh, yes, indeed. It's time to work. It's time to go. It's time to shine and make the floor yours and mine. Let's get the championship rounds underway. It is time to talk about whatever you want to discuss. Put in the comments what topics you want to talk about, what things you want to discuss, what you want to go about, and going through the repertoire of sports as a whole, in your knowledge, in your mind, questions, comments, debates, dreams, fights, dream scenarios, news that you have broken down. Maybe I didn't get to cover, stuff I didn't cover that you want to talk about. Put it in the comment section below, and we got 30 minutes to an hour to talk about whatever you want to discuss. Absolutely. Going through the landscape of sports as a whole. Do you want to talk about anyway? Do you want to keep talking about Tank? Do you want to talk about Usyk versus Dubois? Do you want to talk about potentially Canelo versus Crawford? If I got my prediction wrong, or very, very, very early prediction wrong of Crawford losing to Canelo, is there an opportunity you could see David Benavidez fighting against and beating not just David Morrell, but also the likes of somebody like a better BF or a BEAL? Could Benavidez potentially move up to cruiserweight and still be dominant if he opts to go and continue to win and shine after getting his reign, or potentially getting his reign done at light heavyweight? Oh, there's a plethora of things that we can discuss and talk about, but the floor is yours. Again, this is the championship rounds, the time for you to shine and discuss whatever you all want to discuss in the world of sports as a whole. So yes, the floor is open. The comments are plenty, and the topics are all what you would like to discuss. But while we have that going on, since we're in the championship rounds, we got to talk about a question that we all want to discuss. Again, put your comments in the chat. Championship rounds, whatever questions you want, we can talk about right now. But one question that we saved for the championship round specifically, we got to talk about Canelo versus Crawford, and what would be better, Crawford versus Canelo, 2-time undisputed versus 2-time undisputed. If that fight did indeed take place, how would you feel? How would you feel? Would that be more of an intriguing topic? Would that be more of an intriguing option for you as fans of boxing if we had if we had Canelo versus Crawford, both of them as undisputed champions going up against each other? Now, if that did take place, I would say that indeed would add to the spectacle of the event. Oh, don't get twisted. Absolutely. Oh, and Aaron, real quick, you had a comment. Let me see what you got to say on the show. You cooking. Thanks for the honesty on Tank. I agree, but peeps call me a hater. He can be great legacy-wise, but he is only great pay-per-view and money-wise. That's his choice, though. Seeing guys do more with less, and that's the thing. Tank is somebody there is no question, he is indeed great, and his legacy can be phenomenal. But just like Floyd, later in his career, took the money rather than taking the legacy. And now when it comes to Tank, now operating in that same vein, wants the money rather than the legacy. He said to himself, so I can't hate on him because that's what he wants to do. But I can show enough critique him because that's what we as fans have our right to do, because he is indeed hindering his own legacy for what he wants to be, regardless of what he thinks he already is in the landscape of boxing and what his fans may think. It is not, I don't care how much they can get mad, that's the truth of the matter. His butt has not done anything to warrant where his status is being talked about, because from a money standpoint, one of the biggest money makers in the world, no question. But once the money ends, where are you? And what you are is going to be seen as a drop in the hat. Sad but true. That's what we're going to see him. But again, when it comes to right now, we got to talk about Canelo versus Crawford, because I said I was going to come back to this question, and we're going to come back to it now that we're in the championship rounds. When it comes to Crawford versus Canelo, undisputed versus undisputed, would that make for a more exciting fight? And I would argue, I would argue that yes, that would make for an incredibly exciting fight, and that would add to the grandeur of the event. Now, are we talking undisputed at 154 versus undisputed at 160. Because, let's be perfectly frank, I don't know how much longer both of these people have going in their primes. Specifically, Crawford. Crawford at 30, was he 38, 36? I believe he's 38, 36 years old, if I have my age correctly. Let me just make sure that he is indeed. Was he? Is he? Okay, 37. Yeah, so he's 37 years old. Canelo is younger than him. Now, Canelo's still in his prime, but he's, again, on the downtrend. Crawford is still one of the best in the world, top 3. But he is, again, age has not been beaten by anybody in history. Genuinely. Only person that was close to doing it was Tom Brady, Manny Pacquiao, and LeBron James currently. If we wait, I don't think it would make a difference, because I think it would be, you're too old. But on the whole, I don't think Crawford will want to go for undisputed. Again, I don't think it would make it any bigger. Genuinely. And I know I just said, yeah, it would make it bigger from the standpoint of, yeah, a spectacle. And yes, I still stand by that. But in terms of the excitement and hype, I don't think it would make it any bigger, because there's nothing that can make that fight bigger, because that's the only fight that we want to see. That's the fight that we all yearn to see. Canelo versus Crawford. If not Canelo versus David Benavidez. Like, that's the truth. I'm not trying to be genuine. Those are the only 2 fights that we want to see from them. And if they keep on ducking each other or avoiding each other now, or excuse me, not avoiding each other, with Canelo ducking David Benavidez and Crawford looking to get at Canelo, and Canelo, like I said in the last episode, looking to and has control of the dictation of negotiation for whether or not this fight can even get put through, depending on how much he's asking for when he talks with Turki Al-Sheikh. Just that's the case. It falls on Canelo, as we said in the past. But this fight, I don't think, undisputed or not, I don't think it can get any bigger. Now, undisputed on Canelo's part and not undisputed on Crawford's part, yeah, it can be bigger. Or excuse me, yeah, it's as big as it is. If Canelo is not undisputed and Crawford still comes out to fight him, I don't think it would take away anything egregiously. Promotional standpoint, oh yeah, it will be quote unquote bigger. But fan hype, oh, it'll be, shoot, that'd still be incredible. Because he got stripped, remember, because he didn't want to fight William Squall, who was the IBF mandatory. IBF, we've already talked about, strips fighters innocuously, stupidly in my opinion, because they stripped Terrence Crawford after just winning the undisputed title, but then let Errol Spence hold the title for over 3 years, which is a problem, and never made him fight a mandatory. So we see the undisputed title as, it's great if you can get it, and we want you to go for it. But then if you get stripped of it without you losing it in the ring, when you're still active, yeah, we get it. It doesn't mean as much, because the belt commissions are horrid, are stupid, are terrible, are horrible. I despise them. But the title would make it promotionally. Wow. Undisputed versus Crawford. Undisputed versus undisputed. Sure. But without it, it'll still be just as big. The issue is, the upset is what drives. Like I talked about last time. The upset is what drives that fight. The upset is what makes that fight legitimately seen as a spectacle. The upset is what makes Crawford versus Canelo so tantalizing in the eyes and the ears and the hearts of all boxing fans. The upset is what makes this a can't miss event and such a historic fight. It's what makes this arguably the biggest fight in the sport. Genuine. Outside of Benavidez versus Canelo, Crawford versus Canelo is most likely the biggest fight that we got in the sport right now. That's it. That's most likely it. Or hypothetically, some way, shape, or form, we see Gervonta Davis go against Teofimo Lopez. Somehow, some way. Or dare I say, he moves up to 147 and is Tank versus Boots somehow, some way at 147. If Tank just says, forget it, let's go for broke since we about to get out of here anyway. That's it. But that would be, probably there wouldn't be a fight bigger than that. There probably wouldn't be a fight grander than that. There probably wouldn't be a fight more imagination driven than that fight. Because the whole, like I said before, comes down to if Canelo can if Crawford can hurt Canelo. That's what it boils down to. Excuse me while I take a drink, my apologies. But that's what the biggest thing is. Not just can Crawford survive the power of Canelo, but if Crawford can hurt Canelo, oh my gosh. And the feat that this would be if he did this, you have to understand. And Showbiz the Adult brought up a great point. If you haven't watched him, go watch him. Phenomenal boxing podcaster, phenomenal boxing show host, great. Doing his own thing. I'm trying to get to that point and beyond. Thanks to you and your help and your support in the community. But we don't hate on nobody. He gives great knowledge. One of the things that he brought up is with Roy Jones Jr. Again, he brought this up. I didn't think about this. Showbiz the Adult brought this up. When you look at the landscape of what Roy Jones Jr. did when he moved up to heavyweight to fight and then moved back down, which again is preposterous that he was able to do that and reclaim the title, moving back down from heavyweight to light heavyweight. Ridiculous. But the point still stands. When he moved up, he fought against Ruiz. Now, that was stupid that he was able to win. Incredible. Absolutely. However, and this is not to hold it against him, but this is to understand. Fighting Ruiz was not fighting, at that point in time, Lennox Lewis. Now, he wanted Mike Tyson at that point in time, and he wanted to fight the tops of the tops. Understandable. Would have loved it. But if he had beaten Lennox Lewis for the heavyweight championship when he was moving up in weight to fight at heavyweight, the amount of praise that would have gotten, let's keep it a buck. Let's keep it real. Let's keep it 100%. If we saw that Roy Jones Jr. beat Lennox Lewis instead of beating John Ruiz to win the heavyweight championship, and when he was moving up for that historic title, we will be talking about him probably as the end-all be-all greatest fighter in history. I would have to say move over Sugar Ray Robinson. I would have to. If we saw that fight and we saw that work and we saw him be able to beat Lennox Lewis at that point in time, instead of it being John Ruiz that he faced off against and beat, I would probably have to say, yeah, move over Roy Jones, move over Sugar Ray Robinson. Roy Jones Jr. is the best fighter I've ever seen because of what he did. I would have to. That would be preposterous. That would be ridiculous. That would be so That would be so nonsensical if he was able to do that. Because you're not fighting the best. You're not just fighting for a title at a bigger division that you, in all honesty, have no business being in. You're fighting the best of that division, and you beat him in a division that you have no business being in. That's preposterous. That's lunacy. If Roy did that, I might have to call him the greatest in history. If he did that, that would be stupid. If Crawford goes and beats Canelo, this is not like this is not like Roy beating Ruiz. It's similar, but it's not like it. Because Roy beating Ruiz was Roy going up and fighting, again, a champion. But it wasn't the best champion. But it's still incredible. Crawford's going to fight at 168, potentially, against the best 168-pounder, not just of this era, but potentially in history. It's super middleweight. There's argument he's one of the best in history. Mexican boxer, there's an argument. Not an argument. He is one of the best in history. This era, there is no equal at 168 to Canelo. There isn't. That is wholeheartedly true. Outside of fighting David Benavidez, who's his biggest competition, there is nobody that is of the same ilk. But if Canelo loses to Terrence Crawford, while Canelo's still in his prime and is younger than Terrence Crawford, we're having a conversation for something all you can do is shake your head. It would be that preposterous. We would be looking at Terrence Crawford, forget chiseling out room for somebody to fight. I think we forget the ramifications of what this really means. We wouldn't just chisel out room. Initially, I said somebody wouldn't have to go. We would just have to make space. More than I think about it, I think that's wrong. Somebody would have to go in the landscape of all-time great, and somebody's getting bumped out, and Crawford's getting bumped in. We would have to. We would have to. We would have to. If Crawford beats if Crawford beats Canelo at 168, let alone if he knocks him out. Showbiz the Adult brought up this great point. Again, this is not me, but it's a great point that I got to bring up. We would have to be looking at him as one of the greatest in history, and it knocks somebody else out of that tenure. It would have to, because that's preposterous. That's not just moving up and fighting at a weight class that you don't belong in, but that's fighting from one, mind you, Crawford came up from 135 to move up to 168 to fight the best 168 pounder, pound for pound, one of the best in the world still, and still in his prime and nigh unbeatable outside of one man in Benavidez being his biggest op at that division. You go up and move up to 168 and you beat him soundly, let alone you knock him out. We have to move somebody out of the greatest of all time conversation. Or excuse me, out of the all-time great conversation, excuse me. Not GOAT conversation, he's not there. But all-time great, somebody's getting bounced. Somebody's getting moved. Somebody's getting left. It wouldn't be just chiseling out. It would be, we got to annex them. Not annex, but we got to move people aside. Somebody's got to go. From the all-time great conversation, somebody's got to move. Because there is a standard, there is a threshold. And if Crawford does this, he reaches that threshold. That's something that we haven't seen anybody do. That would be preposterous. Moving up this drastically and beating the best in a division at that weight from where you came from, which was 135. Roberto Duran couldn't do it. He couldn't. He got up all the way to middleweight. I believe he got up all the way to middleweight. And he couldn't do this. He was great, don't get me wrong. I believe did he fight against Iran Barkley? And was it Iran Barkley that he fought against? I can't remember at this point. I'll go back and I'll do the research, but we don't want to mess up the flow. But regardless of which, he fought it. If we saw him do that and not be successful, that's incredible. And Roberto Duran was ridiculous. Ridiculous as a fighter. This would be like, it would be so insane. Somebody would have to go. Somebody would have to go. Somebody would have to go and get knocked off. Who that would be, but I would have to talk and see. I would have to talk through it and see, because we're looking at a landscape of all-time greats. There's a lot of them. There is a lot of them. There is a lot of them. But I promise you, he does that. I don't think I've seen somebody do that. It's not just the moving up, it's the who he fights when he moves up. It's not just the competition, but it's how elite and how far and away that competition is relative to everybody else. And then you come about and beat him when you come up from a weight class that is closer to Tank Dare I say, you came up from a weight class that Tank is currently in right now. That is like Gervonta Davis coming up and fighting Canelo. If we want a one-to-one comparison, that's like Tank going up from 135 and then winning at 140, winning at 147, and then moving up to fight at 154, and then immediately fighting Canelo at 168. That is what this is akin to. That's the literal track record. That's the literal, that's the apt comparison, because that is genuinely what is being done. Crawford fought at 135 and moved up and now is trying to fight Canelo. Tank is at 135 right now. And he doesn't want to fight people at 140. But Crawford is moving up and was already there, became undisputed, and then worked his way all through the divisions to fight and win, to get up to 168. If Tank did that, brother, we will be saying, what the word? One of the greatest in history. The very conversation we're talking about with Terrence Crawford, we would be having with Tank Davis if Tank did that. And it would all be worth it. But now, Crawford's getting this praise because Crawford's taking the apt route. He's doing what needs to be done. Dare I say he's trying to do something that honestly shouldn't be done. And we're looking at the logical means of boxing. That's preposterous what he's attempting to do. But if he does pull it off against Canelo, of all people, coming up from 135 to 168, we're looking at a man who we're going to have to etch somebody out of the all-time great conversation to put Crawford in to the all-time great conversation, depending on where he would rank, because that is ludicrous to be able to see that it is possible. Dare I say that it actually comes to fruition, that he achieves it, that he beats him. It would be so insane to see if that did take place. My gosh, that would be incredible. But again, we'd love to hear your thoughts on what you think would happen if that did transpire. And again, remember, this is the championship rounds. Your opportunity to go and talk through whatever you want to discuss on the show. Topics, opinions, basketball, football, boxing, whatever you want to discuss, video games, movies, don't matter. The floor is yours for whatever you all want to discuss on the show. It is still your time to shine. We got about we started at 140 or 140, 145. It's about 210. We got till about, we'll say 230. If anybody wants to say anything now, if it just goes to a full-blown stop, we'll stop the show right now and we'll just get on with the day. Absolutely. But again, it's your time to shine. Whatever you want to discuss, whatever you want to talk about, whatever you feel that you want to have a debate on, absolutely. Pull through. Pull up. Let's see what you got to say. And we'll talk about it all with you right here on the show. Excuse me while I take a quick drink for 1 second. Woo. I tell you, I don't know how people on TV continue just I see why they have breaks. Going just straight off, brother, it's a toll. It's fun though. I tell you what, it's never a dull moment on this show. We always got something to say. Absolutely. But we are, again, this is the championship rounds. If anybody has anything else they would like to say on the show about whatever we got going on, feel free. Talk about it. Be about it. Let's see your thoughts. Let's see your comments. Let's see your opinions. Let's see what the world has to offer when it comes to the grand scheme of this show. Absolutely. But hey, if nobody else got anything we got to say, hey, we can wrap it up. No problem there. We ain't gonna push and pry. We ain't gonna try to eke something out of you. We're gonna let it be as natural as possible. But this is, again, you all to show. Your time to shine. Your time to glow up and show up for whatever you want to discuss in the landscape of sports as a whole. Genuine. And hey, I've talked about just about everything I need to cover. Let me make sure that I got all my stuff covered on this show for what we would like to discuss. Bradley Beal, Bradley Lakers, D-Lo, Sig Milton, cover that. Kings got fired. Now y'all saw about that as well. I think we about covered. So honestly, if there ain't no other comments, there's no other critiques, there's no other debates that you all want to have, I think we're about to wrap it up. I think we're about done with what we got going on in this show. So, again, one more time, if anybody has anything to say, speak now. Forever hold your peace. But if you got your peace and you're keeping your peace, then, ladies and gentlemen, all I got to say is that this has been a phenomenal show. And, hey, we got to wrap it up. So, ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of The Welch Report with me, Jean-Luc Welch. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to the show, listening to the action, listening to the fire and fervor. That is The Welch Report. Absolutely. Thank you so much for all that you've done, all that you do, all that you're going to do to make this channel bigger and better and grander in the grand scheme of the boxing and just sports media community as a whole. This is the hottest show in all the globe. And every week we're going to come through with fire and energy to talk about whatever we want to talk about and going over the landscape of sports as a whole, talking about boxing, talking about the NBA, and everything in between. Absolutely. But again, I've been Jean-Luc Welch. Y'all have been wonderful. We're going to be back here, tomorrow. We still got to do 2 shows a week, don't we? We're going to be back here tomorrow. Talk about whatever we want to discuss in the world of sports. But I've been Jean-Luc Welch. Y'all been wonderful. Leave a like on the stream before you leave. Comment your thoughts or just say what's up. Say a hi and bye. Leave hearts or whatever the case you want to be. Share it with everybody that you want or that you can. We're going to be up on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every major podcast imaginable. Once this show gets off air, don't get it twisted. And we will be back here on Thursday. Talk about the world of sports as a whole. And we're going to bring you the fire and energy that we always do. But again, I've been Jean-Luc Welch. Y'all have a wonderful peace and love. And we are out of here. Yes, sir. See y'all tomorrow. Thanks y'all for a phenomenal show. Appreciate everything that's going on. We're going to get this chat fixed one way or another, doggone it. We're going to be able to bring it up on the screen. And I will see you all tomorrow. Absolutely. Can't wait for Thursday. Be back here and bring your energy. We're going to have some fun. Oh, mark my words. Trust and believe.